It is the Jesse Kelly Show on a Thursday. Thrilled. I just can't believe the Republican National Convention. You're just sitting here. I'm sitting next to Congressman Michael Cloud. Monica Crowley goes rolling by. This place is just a star-studded affair. Of course, mostly because I'm here. But anyway, so Congressman and I, we were just talking off air about this whole Secret Service thing. Congressman Michael Cloud, I'm sure you already know, 100% record with the Heritage Foundation. So this is the kind of human being we're dealing with here. Of course, Texas always does it right. Actually, that's not true. We have some dirtballs from Texas, but most of the Texas congressmen are decent. But more importantly, he's on the Oversight Committee, and you have a little meeting on Monday, don't you?
Yeah, Monday we'll have a hearing with the U.S. Secret Service, and I'm sure it'll be just as transparent and revealing, and all questions will be answered, and maybe not, but
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because we talk about it a lot. I talk about it a lot on the show. Listeners email in, they're mad about it.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's always the same thing where they do something terrible, whether it be on purpose or on accident. You never can figure it out anymore. They do something terrible, and then you guys try to do your jobs, bring them in for oversight, and it's always stonewalling. Either it's Christopher Wray saying, well, I can't comment on an ongoing investigation or something. Sure, you'll hear that 20 times on Monday.
Right.
And then from there, nothing happens. Can we do anything beyond that, or is that kind of what we're stuck with without the Senate and the White House?
There's two things Congress can do. One is we can investigate these things. You know, a lot of times we talk to people back home, they want us to put people in cuffs. I wish we could, but we can investigate things. But the other thing we have is the power of the purse. And so we have to have enough Republicans up there who are willing to say, I'm not going to fund this until the behavior is corrected. And so, you know, just last week we had a vote on the floor. I believe it was for CISA, who's, you know, they've had some questionable activity in the past, and all the vote was to hold their funding at flatline to the year prior. So we're not talking about even a massive cut. We're talking about you're just not going to make more this year in your department until this previous year until we figure things out. We didn't have the votes for that. So those are the two options really that are on the table for us. Of course, we do need to get to the bottom of this, and until we're willing to cut funding, agencies know that it's just talk from Congress, and so we've got to investigate. They think they're unaccountable, and they are. And they have been, yeah.
And why can we never cobble together the votes? Are we that weak and pathetic on the right that we can't get the GOP in line? I'm not worried about you, but for some reason it's always 10, 20, 30 losers in our party who won't do obvious things. Are they Democrats in disguise? Is that what we're dealing with here? Are they soft? Are they stupid? What is happening?
Yeah, you know, these always come down to individual issues with each individual who ends up on one side of the vote. The thing that I will say is you know, there's people who will sometimes hail back to like the Reagan and Tip O'Neill years, and you know, that may have been a great season. I'm not saying we wouldn't love to be there and to have those kind of substantive dialogues across the aisle. That's not where the parties are right now. This isn't a generation ago where the difference between the right and left was we wanted the same thing for our families and our communities. We all believed in America, and the political discussion was, what's the role of government in getting there? Right now, that discussion is happening entirely within the Republican Party, and I think that's what last night was about when we're talking about, okay, we have differences of opinion on some of the nuanced issues, but we're all standing for the same principles. That discussion's happening right now entirely within the Republican Party, at least certainly at the D.C. swamp level, and the left has completely embraced Marxism, and we have to have enough members who understand what the time is right now. And the consensus that is growing, I would hope after the extraordinary events, President Trump, his life literally being spared by the hand of God, that we can understand the kind of evil that we're up against that we're facing as a country right now, and the need for us at all levels. We're talking at the local level to DC, everything in between, to have people of courage who are going to stand for these principles.
I'm sure you've heard at this point in time, it's breaking news, kind of breaking news, but Mark Halperin's very reputable journalist saying it sounds like Joe Biden, as we speak, somebody's writing his farewell speech, and it's going to be this freaking disaster that they're going to have to do with the nomination at the convention, so on. Okay, so I don't want to ask you to comment on something that hasn't happened yet, but if Joe Biden's not the nominee, then Where in the world do they go? You can't go with Kamala Harris. She's less popular than Joe Biden. They're who is it? Mayor Pete?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not a Dem operative, so, I'm sure there are people wringing their hands over that decision right now. The thing that people need to realize is, Joe Biden has not been running the policy set as it is right now.
No, not so much.
So you may get a new figurehead, and maybe one who's a little more capable at speaking, doesn't trip upstairs, those kind of things. But you're going to have the same policy set, and this policy set has been devastating for the American people. It's retracted our place on the world stage. It's done a lot of bad things for humanity here at home, and us being that city on a hill across the world. The open borders, the economy, the gap between rich and poor right now is growing once again, when under Trump it had shrunk. We had a strong middle class, virtually every single demographic flourishing. And so you're going to get the same solution set. Might be a different face, but it's going to be the same solution set that they're offering.
You represent Southern Texas.
Yeah.
We're talking Victoria, Corpus Christi, these places. How awful is it to get on a plane and have to leave Texas and the Mexican food we have and stuff and go back to D.C.? Even the food in D.C. sucks. I tell people this and they think I'm lying. All that money and power concentrated in one place, it's hard to find a decent meal in that crappy town.
Yeah, there's many attempts to have good Mexican food in D.C. and they don't fail. They're just, not South Texas for sure. And it's part of the job to go in the swamp. I try to make sure I take a good shower when I come home, put my proverbial wading boots on when I head there. And the big thing is just remembering why you're going there, so that you don't get sucked into the ideology, DC has its own absurd sense of gravity. You're talking from the intern to the vice president. Someone's demise is someone else's step ladder to success, And so we've always tried to do our best to remember why we're there, remember we're there to serve, and to, on our team, I feel blessed to have a staff and a team that works with that same sort of mission mindset.
Is that what you've been able to maintain? Because so many don't. There's so many, though it sound great on the campaign trail, and even maybe in the first term, they're doing well, looks great, and then just, it's like their mind falls out when they get there. Is that the difference? People around you, or is that why you've been able to hold strong? Because so many don't, and it's very, very frustrating.
Well, I can only speak for, for me, it's a daily walk. My faith's important to me. I'm trying to live and do right. I know ultimately I'm going to stand before God one day and ultimately that's going to matter. Yes, each election cycle matters because you're representing and working for the people sending you there. But ultimately, every conversation you have, all the decisions you're making sure you're doing it with the right motives in mind, and that you're there to working for the American people. It sounds so basic and elementary to me, but there's just specific mindsets that you can adopt that try to, I had somebody when I was running, thinking they're doing good, come to me and just say, I've been there. Just remember the ends justify the means, and you might have to do some stuff you don't like. What's up? Burchett walking by, famous people everywhere. But I just remember thinking, don't ever let yourself fall into that kind of thinking, because it's a slippery slope.
Now, healthy dose of Jesus to do us all pretty good. Congressman, I appreciate you very much, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Did you hear that, Chris? Anyway, all right, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, Natalie Winters with the War Room. She co-hosts that with Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon's not with us. Why? Because he's in prison. The federal government threw the guy in prison. We're going to talk to her about that and weaponization of government and other things. Hang on.